welcome to the Mac Gamecast episode 41. I'm John Carr, and today I am here with Lily. How are you?
Hello, I am doing well.
Awesome. And today will be our part 4 of our ongoing series, Favorite Games of All Time, or Best Games of All Time. I actually forget what we called it. We'll figure that out later, but Lily is here to regale us with some of her favorite picks. And I heard what one of them was, or maybe two, but I don't know all of them, so it'll be a little bit of a surprise to me as well. Looking forward to it. It's funny, dang. Oh my lord, I think we've known each other for about 10 years now. I just realized.
It's been a minute. I was actually thinking about that.
And we've talked a lot about games just between ourselves over the years, of all sorts. So anyway, it's fun to bring that to the public, as it were. So once again, just a quick recap of this episode format in case anyone listening didn't listen to the previous episodes. The idea is favorite games or best games of all time. It has no year limit, platform limit. It's just the kind of games that it doesn't necessarily mean the games we've played the most. It's basically the games that we have a favorite memory from or experience or something about the game just we really, really loved, whether it was, could be single player, multiplayer, co-op, whatever it is. Indie AAA, it's, there's no limits to the game picks. It's just whatever we individually really loved, have strong memories of, or strong, favorites of in a given genre or what have you, or a series of games, because there's so many trilogies and whatever these days. So with that said, I will be quiet and leave it over to you. What game would you like to talk about first?
Well, let's start with Halo first, though.
Very nice.
I guess if we're talking about the series, then the Master Chief Collection as a whole would be a good pick for one of my all-time favorites. But specifically from the Master Chief Collection, I'd say Halo Reach was my favorite. Probably followed closely by Halo 2. So I know that's not so much of a Mac game, unless, I don't know, is the MCC available for Mac now?
No, but Halo 1 had a Mac version, and I think the MCC does work through crossover or parallels. I'm pretty sure it works through parallels. So it can be played. It can be played on Mac. And Halo 1 had an official Mac port way back in the day, so it's legit.
Yeah, I do remember way back when the Mac was my only source of gaming solace. I do remember playing, I downloaded the Mac port from some website that had uploaded it and playing that for a bit. Because I don't think it was ever officially released again after some time. I forget exactly what the situation was.
Gearbox helped Microsoft port the original one way back in 2002 or 3. I think Halo 1 came out in 2001, but that was the console version, and then there was a PC version, and then later a Mac version, the trickle-down effect. But yeah, that Mac port is long gone because it was never updated to run on more newer machines.
So it was just some reclaimed game files that got updated, and I played that for a bit. But when the MCC ended up getting released for PC, I immediately bought it because I am a huge Halo fan, but I do not have an Xbox. I have never had an Xbox, actually. So most of my Halo experiences were through stealing my cousins or my siblings or whatever and taking their stuff and using that. But yeah, no. So when it came out for PC, I played through all of the games on there, which is Halo Reach, Halo CE, and then 2, 3, and 4. Never did get Halo 5 on there. I believe Halo 5 is actually the only Halo game to not have a PC port.
That is correct, for reasons unknown, because Halo Infinite, of course, is out, but...
Yeah, honestly, if I were to guess, I'd say it's because Halo 5 was probably the least popular of the Halos, so they probably just didn't see the money in it, but
I did hear something about that, so... Yeah.
which is a shame because I did want to play it at least for keeping track on the story, because I mostly play the single player for the story.
I watched it all on YouTube.
That is fair. That is a valid way of getting the same story fix. But yeah, so from the MCC though, I'd say Reach has always been my favorite. Probably because it feels the most. It feels the most like that is your character's story. Like you get your own. Your character has his or her, because you can play as either. Armor that you can customize your armor and then have it in actually in the game in the cutscenes, which is pretty cool. Not that Master Chief's story isn't excellent, which it is, but I've always been an RPG type of gamer, so having my own character, even though you can't really control their actions, they do whatever the story dictates, but it's still visually distinct, and I can kind of say, yeah, that is my character. From that storytelling point of view, that was pretty good. And then obviously the gameplay, it was among the newer. Halo 4 did come out after it, so it's not the newest, but among the newer games in the MCC. Though actually with Halo 2's anniversary release, I think the graphics are comparable, but Halo Reach did have the better graphics, the better gameplay as far as I was concerned, within the MCC, not counting Halo 4, because Halo 4 also wasn't great. And then the story, just, I don't know, that whole lost cause, but you're still fighting until the end type deal. I think, that type of story, the Thermopylae type story, the Last Stand, the glorious Last Stand is always compelling.
Yeah, it kind of
storytelling
tugs at the heartstrings a little bit,
Yeah.
especially, military type like yourself. Probably an extra layer there.
Yeah.
But no, I read, because there's so many Halo novels too, so The Fall of Reach was, I don't know, gosh, I read the book probably in the early 2000s or 2005 or 6 or something. And it was actually, I read a bunch of other Halo books, I don't really remember them. They're extended Master Chief universe stuff with his team is Kelly and I forget the other guy. I forget exactly where in the timeline they fell. But anyway, The Reach was the book I always went back to and kept rereading. Even though of course you always know the ending, I mean, after reading it once, obviously, but there's something about that particular element, like you said, the glorious last stand, the heroic, sacrifice to try and, help other people escape the planet, or, it just always was it was very compelling, like you said, even long before I played the game, or even knew they would make a game of The Fall of Reach, so, it's a pivotal moment in the, Halo timeline, but it just has a lot of cool characters, and I think I did play through the game. I did buy. I think I just bought Reach, and then later bought the whole MCC because they were releasing them in little chunks, one by one for $10 or something, which is also great because in the end the whole collection isn't even expensive, because it gives you so many games. But Reach was really cool, like you said. The story is fixed, but you can add a little of your own flavor with your armor, your colors, or your whatever it was. I don't know if you can do armor patterns. I kind of forget, but it definitely gives you enough. That's me. That's my guy or my gal. In the story, so that's fun.
It is really neat, since you brought up the book. It ties together. You're not seeing the same story. You're seeing a different viewpoint of that story, but then you get glimpses of the books, or locations and places in the books, New Alexandria, the whole mission around that.
Right.
So there was a lot of lore, and storytelling that came into play there, and it was really, really neat to see.
And it was cool to have a team of Spartans as well that you can cooperate with and that are in the story, or you can play in co-op mode, and Yeah, that's pretty cool too. Because again, like you said, the Master Chief, really the main Master Chief story arc is Halo 1, 2, and 3. I know he's also in 4 and 5, but I almost consider them like they continue the story, but they really are a separate arc. They're also not made by Bungie. They're made by 343 Studios. Yeah, so the Master Chief arc is fun, but it's also kind of lonely. Although, of course, Cortana's your main companion there. But there's something really fun about having like a squad of Spartans in Reach. That was fun. Some camaraderie.
They did do a good job of making each one of them feel distinct, even though you only really get to interact with them in a limited capacity. Obviously, it's not a true RPG, so there's no side quests or anything like that. You don't stop the game to go talk to them or anything like that. But just the interactions you get with them in the time you do have with them, you can tell, like, yes, each one of them have their own personalities and have their own styles and quirks and everything. And it was a real welcome change, I feel, from the sort of stoic, robotic Spartan depiction we had seen so far. Like, not bashing John or anything, but he's very much like kind of a gruff and quiet type person.
Yeah,
and
he's a little flat on the emotions,
Yeah, and I think everyone just kind of assumed, even though it says in lore, like, Spartans are people. Like, yes, they're, sure, they're kidnapped as children and trained their whole lives to be genetically enhanced super soldiers, but they're not like Space Marines, like they have emotions, they have wants and friendships and all that, and getting to see that was pretty neat.
Yeah, it really humanized them in a fun way, in a good way.
Yeah, and it made their losses all the more compelling. Like, I think the one that hit me the hardest the first time I played through was Kat. Just getting spoiler alert, which, I mean, frankly, it's been long enough. You shouldn't need spoilers. But Kat getting sniped, like, just out of the blue, and it's like, well, yeah, sometimes that's how it goes. Not everyone's gonna have the heroic last stand like Carter or George. Like going out in a blaze of glory. Sometimes one lucky shot from the enemy, or unlucky shot rather, and that's it. Story's over.
I agree. That one stood out to me as well. I was like, no, I liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was like, it was so sudden and
right. Exactly.
Yeah, that one hit harder for that reason. Like, you kind of got the build up with George, and I think everyone knew, because it is Reach. Like, yeah, most of these Spartans are going to die. Most of the characters are going to die. I was surprised not all of them died, because Jun ended up surviving because he got sent to escort Halsey, so he ended up surviving the fall of Reach. But he was unique in that matter, and every other Spartan on your team ends up dying. You end up dying, and I think lore wise, like, almost every Spartan that was on Reach ended up dying.
Yeah,
in that battle.
I believe in the book everyone eats it, although it's been a long time since I read it. But yeah, basically, approximately what you said is definitely accurate. Just about everyone, with a couple, maybe just a few exceptions, made it off. So yeah, it's like tragic, heroic. What's funny is even their squad name is Noble Team in the game.
Yeah,
and yeah, they are noble. They're like I mean, Spartans are generally heroic in general, but these guys are like extra heroic.
Yeah,
somehow, like the heroes among heroes. I don't know. They're pretty damn cool.
Holding the line in the face of impossible odds.
Yeah, and again, not to like, I don't think it's fair to like compare them to John Spartan, the Master Chief, but he kind of has a particular. He does a lot of badass stuff, and he's obviously putting his life on the line. But he has like a lot of plot armor as well.
Yeah.
Like you kind of know you're fine even when you're in danger. So Reach has this element of like tangible uncertainty throughout the whole thing. You're not really sure who's going to make it, who's not. Including your own character. So that adds a real extra story impact, extra gameplay impact, like what you're doing, and especially the music. Oh man, so good. Sometimes it's like almost like mournful, and
I feel the music of the whole series is that way. Like they got it with the music.
They did. It's true. I think Halo music is probably some of the stuff that's been kept in my computer the longest in terms of like game soundtracks. Probably I would say easily the longest. In terms of true soundtracks. I've had like the marathon theme in my computer forever, but that's literally, it's just like a 1 minute clip that, it's not like a soundtrack, but like Halo's soundtracks have lived in my computer since the first one. And later I didn't play Halo 2 and 3. Well, that's not true. I played Halo 2 on PC, but on a friend's PC way back. But, of course, Halo 3, I just ended watching on YouTube at the time. But yeah, the music has always just been killer. Totally stellar.
Yeah. They really know how to invoke the emotion of everything that's going on.
It's excellent. Standout. Yes. Pardon me. So Reach is phenomenal. And then you mentioned Halo 2 as your next favorite entry. So what is it about Halo 2 to you that stands out over Halo 1 or Halo 3?
I think again it would come down to the world building and the lore and everything. Getting to see a different side of the Covenant and the Sangheili and that entire dynamic, and then of course the flipping of the whole power structure and the elites eventually coming over to humanity's side. Like that was just like the build up was just fantastic.
What was the guy's name you played? He was like the Arbiter.
The Arbiter, the Lobotomy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say that the way that story was set up is probably the primary reason. Obviously, gameplay wise, every Halo game is kind of the same. They each have their own quirks. Like Halo Reach has the DMR, Halo CE has the God Pistol, Halo 2 has dual wielding. I don't know. Halo 3 is kind of just Halo 2, but each game has its own little bits and pieces that make it unique. So, but overall, the gameplay is mostly the same. But I think Halo 2 something about the balancing just feels nice with Halo 2. So I like the gameplay, obviously, and the story just really, really solidified it.
Yeah, Halo 2 is pretty cool. The early PC port that I played, I recall being very console-y and like floaty and kind of annoying on the controls. I believe that's better in the MCC version. But yeah, the graphics were really cool, even though there was almost a certain flatness to them. It was a little strange, but the graphics were good at the time.
Yeah.
The story was epic, though. Yeah, for sure.
I can't be super shallow and cite graphics as one of the main reasons, but the graphics were on the anniversary edition are just fantastic. It almost makes it look like it came out. I won't say recently, but a lot earlier than it did, which I guess it is like. It was a graphical, what's the word? Like not a remaster, but
enhancement.
An enhancement. They went back and they improved a lot of the graphics. And there's actually a neat thing you can do in CE and 2 in the MCC version of the game. If you press tab when you're in a cutscene or you're in a location like live in the game, it'll switch between the old graphics and the new graphics. So you can literally like do an immediate comparison of like, hey, this is how it looked like before. Here's how it looks like now. Isn't this so much better?
That's fun. I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Halo 2 did some cool stuff. The dual wielding was fun. The level, like the scope of the game really expanded. Suddenly you're like fighting a real war. Like you're always fighting a war in Halo, but the scale was suddenly like in your face. I think you're in New Mombasa or something in the first
New
opening.
Mombasa.
Mombasa, sorry. And the whole thing's under attack and getting bombed and destroyed, and you're zooming around in warthogs, and you're like in a literal city with like buildings everywhere and bridges and roads and all kinds of cool stuff. So
they really nailed each environment. Like when you're in the space area, like when you're on the space station, you can see like all these ships duking it out around you. The city area, like you were talking about, like it feels like you're in a city. You know, there's like close quarters combat. There's snipers like in really annoying spots. I think the jackal sniper is like
literally about to say that. Oh, that jackal sniper,
the universally hated enemy.
Yeah,
with those beam rifles, especially on the harder difficulties.
Exactly, it can like one-shot you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like just everything about Halo 2, the ambiance and the environments. It's really well done.
Nice. I had Halo 1 as one of my favorite games on the list. And I did play Reach. I did play Halo 2. I don't think I played Halo 3. I think I might have played Firefight, or did that make it to PC? ODST Firefight, I forget.
ODST it's part of the MCC as well.
Right, because some of my memory's fuzzy on this because like I said, I literally watched all of this like on YouTube and Twitch, like full gameplay throughs, like 100%. And then later played some of these games. Some of my memories are like intermingled with one or the other, and I'm like, wait, did I play that or just watch it?
No, I feel that with some of the console games.
But similar to, for the reasons in another episode, I picked The Witcher 1 as my favorite game. It's not the best Witcher game. And Halo 1 is among one of the favorite Halo games, but I think a lot of people also favor like Reach or Halo 2 or 3, especially for multiplayer stuff. Like later on, the multiplayer got way better, even though I love Halo 1's multiplayer. But I picked Halo 1 for the reason because it was the first. Kind of like how the first Assassin's Creed is one of my favorites, but it's far from the best Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
But it's the one that got it started. It introduced it to the world, and it was just totally brand new and revolutionary in its own way. Halo 1 as well, it was just the kind of gameplay and the first time, landing on the ring and the views and the music and kind of the, the shooter combat, like this sort of pseudo open worldy ground based. I say open world because some of the maps are quite large and you can kind of roam around and do whatever. You had objectives, but or just get dropped in on a ship with a beach assault. It was just okay, it's not Normandy D-Day, but it's like okay, suddenly you're Master Chief and you're in power armor and you have all these cool guns. But you have a gun limit and you have a pretty interesting story, and it was just the whole package was something really brand new at the time. Took the gaming world by storm, starting with the Xbox, later PC.
I can't argue with that.
And I just played it so many times from pretty much all the difficulties. Worked my way up. Did manage one playthrough on Legendary, which took forever. I think the library was the worst though on Legendary. That was a grind. All the flood in the library and the waves.
Yeah.
So there's some like design quirks, like this level should have been a lot shorter, and but again, being
the fact that half the game is just mirrored of the first half.
Yeah, exactly. Being introduced to the flood the first time is hella creepy. Just all this like fun first time stuff. That's why I picked Halo 1. The later series obviously refined it, expanded it. Took the story in really cool new directions. The collaboration or friendship or whatever you want to call it between Master Chief and Cortana, and all the stuff with the Covenant and really cool stuff. But Halo 1 has a special place in my heart for that reason. It also happened to have a Mac version, which was cool. Once again, Halo 1 multiplayer I got to play not a lot of, but some of. I mostly played a lot of like local local PvP. And occasionally, at the time, I had terrible internet, so I didn't get to play much online. But then I got into Red versus Blue, and then I got into the book. So Halo 1 was like this gateway into this whole like Halo world for me.
It was the gateway drug.
Yeah, that I just really enjoyed for just I can't remember how many years. So I'm not playing Halo actively now, although I didn't play the anniversary edition. So you talking about them makes me want to go check those out because I have the whole collection. Yeah, just love Halo, love the world, and I think it's it's a legendary series for good reason. At least the earlier ones. Halo 4 and 5 I think were less popular, but still, a lot of people bought and played them. Halo's still being made. We have a Halo Infinite.
Which I'm still working on the story on that one.
Oh, nice. So you are playing through it?
Yeah. So far, not sure where it ranks. It's definitely got some misses, but it's also got some hits. I know the grappling hook is like a touchy subject for some people, but I personally love it. Like, there's just something really nice about like, oh hey, see that guy over there? I'm just gonna latch onto him with my grappling hook, go flying towards him, and punch him in the face. Like it's just so fun. It's just pure fun.
I like grappling hooks in games, so I would enjoy it. I don't have infinite single player. I've played some of the multiplayer, which is pretty darn good, especially for a free to play. I think it's free to play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think multiplayer is all free.
Yeah, it is, and that's cool. It's more Halo. It's definitely not the most popular Halo, but I'm glad they're still making Halo, and I'm curious if basically, I mean, Halo Infinite kind of gave you the idea like it would almost be the last one. It would just kind of go on forever. It's in the name, just release new content or something. But I do hope, because Infinite, aren't you back to playing Master Chief?
Yep.
Yeah. I guess like mild story spoilers, isn't Cortana now like all rogue AI and everything? Is that in Infinite, or what's the story?
Yeah, that happens in 5. I think
that's in 5. That's true. That's in 5. Yeah.
Because I remember I watched the storyline because I could not play it because I did not have a console. But I believe that happens partway through Halo 5 where she just kind of goes off the deep end.
No, you're right. That is 5. And maybe it started even in 4, I forget. But yeah, it's 5 mostly.
Yeah. And so there's actually kind of like an AI civil war because some AI are like answering Cortana's call and going over to her side and waging war on the organics, and then others are like staying with the UNSC or whoever made them. And I think there's also like dumb AI versus smart AI and stuff like that. So it's definitely it's a strange twist in the story. I don't think it's a bad one. I think it was well set up from Halo 2, even with how she was left on High Charity and how that affected her.
Yeah.
But it definitely caught some people off guard.
Well, it's like John and Cortana are like the team up. It's almost like them against the world in a lot of instances. So to kind of turn them against each other, I think felt almost like a betrayal or something. I think like done well enough. It's a solid story beat done well enough, and I think it was done well enough. It could have been better, could have been worse. And of course, to get reunited later anyway, right?
Yeah. In a way.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's still. I haven't played all the way through Infinite, but you kind of come across a Cortana, almost like a clone of her, like
it's like a
junior version of her.
Yeah.
It's a little strange, but it's what's happening. And then and then she and you are a team, and then I think the original Cortana is going to get involved again somehow, but it hasn't been. I have not reached that part yet. I have heard tell of it, but I do not know what exactly happens.
Yeah, to be fair, like it's pretty uncommon for a series that has several games to really like maintain this story quality. Halo 1, 2, 3, real solid. Reach, it was a standalone, really solid. But they also had, I think, some written material to work off of. It's not the same. It's not a copy of the book, but they had like a real setup already. I think that helped flesh out the story and characters of the actual game. Firefight was, what is it? Sergeant Johnson. Everyone's always
ODST. You mean?
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean.
Yeah, ODST had Bucky.
Right, Bucky. He just Sergeant Johnson, I think, in it, and everyone always likes him.
Yeah, I mean Johnson was there as like a background character. I think he kind of shows up in a cutscene.
Right. So yeah, then you're back to like Master Chief and Cortana. Like, here we go again for like Halo 4, Halo 5, Halo Infinite. I'm not trying to give an excuse that like they couldn't have made a better game or a better story, because people can.
Yeah.
But I do give them a little slack. Like, how fresh can they keep this in Game 4, in Game 5, in Game 6? Like, they're gonna run out of steam. Yeah. It kind of happens to like the best.
Well, and I think there's also it's a phenomena I've been noticing kind of across every genre, but people just love to nitpick nowadays. And actually, I don't know if it's a nowadays sort of thing. It's been happening for every like popular, especially sci-fi. Right. Star Wars is a good example I like to use, because I remember when when the prequels came out, right? Because that was my childhood, was the prequels, episode 1, 2, and 3. They came out and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's so bad! Like, they're ruining Darth Vader. They're ruining Luke Skywalker's origin story. Like, the Clone Wars was supposed to be this nebulous thing, and they made it like a CGI war." And it's like, okay, man, like you're just digging at everything here. And then, but then we move to the next installment, right? And all of a sudden, everyone's looking at the prequels like, wow, look at how they did the prequels. See, that's how it was done right. The sequels are trash. Like, they're just recycling the original trilogy, and they're turning it into a CGI battle, and they're ruining Luke Skywalker's origin story. I'm like, you are saying the exact same things that people said about the prequels. And I bet if you went back to the 80s, you'd find the same people saying shit about the original trilogy, like, oh man, Empire at War, or not Empire at War, that's a video game. Empire Strikes Back was terrible. They left it on a cliffhanger. They shouldn't have done it that way. It's like, every time, I guarantee it, every time something comes out, people will go ham about it. And then
you're not wrong. There's a lot of emotional fandom. I think that's inevitable when something is popular and beloved.
Yeah.
Because you'll have the polarizing experience. This is the best movie or game entry ever. Oh, this is the worst. Yeah, you're so dumb, Yada, yada, yada. Oh, why did the devs or the writers or whatever, why'd they do this thing? And no, it's true. You're not wrong.
And it really comes down to, people I think just need to understand, like, the story you have in your head of what is to come next. It's not always going to be the story that actually gets written. Right. And is there a better way of telling stories? Sure. Like, you can rewrite any story a dozen times over with different endings and different pathways, and some of those will be better than others. But at the end of the day, like, you got to respect the writers. Like, this is what they came up with, and it's not like you can't just wave your hands and say, oh, well, the writers only did it because of, something corporate pressure, wokeness, or whatever, like just
right.
insert something here of like, oh, the writers didn't really do what they wanted to. It's like, well, can you prove that? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe the writers just wrote a good story in their eyes, and you're just finding ways to nitpick it.
Yeah, but it's true. The nitpicky, the polarization has increased. I think it's a lot to do with just the internet, social media, forums, like
politics.
More reliance on them. Yeah, politics, and people just enjoy arguing. I guess maybe it's just the age we live in.
Oh, yeah.
The age of quarrel or whatever. I don't know.
The age of aggression.
yeah. So you can't escape that. Unfortunately.
To a degree, I would say so. Especially, I like to say that I like fulfill the minority bingo in a sense, like, being a woman online, being a minority religion, minority sexuality, half Indian. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I see that I'm like, you can't just point your finger and go, oh, they only wrote that character in because woke, like,
right.
I think, God, I was playing Last of Us 2, I think it was, or not playing it, but I was watching it. Yeah. And I remember seeing a lot of flack about, what's her name? Abby, I think it was?
I think so.
And it's like, well, she's like just unrealistic for a woman. Like, no woman is that strong. I'm like, listen, man, I'm in the army. I can tell you there are some women that are absolutely that muscular. Like that, like just get off your high horse and accept that, like, just because you're not as buff as she is doesn't mean that the game is unrealistic. You just need to stop gaming so much and go and work out. Like,
that's great. Yeah, for sure. Certain games or stories elicit more controversy than others. Some for good reason, I think. Some for no reason, like what you just said. That's some nonsense. But you're a lot more of a like grounded and reasonable person.
Yeah.
You have obviously your likes and your preferences and things you love and hate and whatever, like anyone. But you're not like some overreactive troll or whatever, which is a lot of these people online.
I mean, and it goes both ways as well, where some people are like, oh, well, why is there no women protagonist in this story? And it's like, well, I mean, we're playing like, I don't know, what's a good example? There was this medieval game I was playing. I forget the name of it now, but it's like, some games like that. It's like, yeah, you can't write in a historical RPG about a wandering knight and make the character like a minority race, minority gender, minority religion, whatever, because like
Kingdom Come Deliverance maybe or something.
Yes, that's the one. But you're a knight in Europe. Like, yeah, you're probably a guy. You're probably Christian. You're probably straight. That's just how it was back then.
It'd be a real dissonance, and that's where you go to fantasy, and then you can be whatever you want, or sci-fi and what have you. And you could. And
then, like you talk about Witcher, we have Yen, Ciri. We have the whole thing of the elves versus the humans and all that. And it's like that. Now you have all these themes that you were looking for. You just have to look in the right spot, and not every medium can cater to every identity.
Yeah, and I don't think it should, because then we lose some uniqueness.
Yeah,
it's like should all food taste the same or whatever? Like the same idea. It's like, no, there should be distinct, flavors and tastes, and that should be true, I think, in entertainment, and it broadly is. Though there's definitely, I mean, this could probably be its own podcast show altogether. But so it's a bit of a tangent, but nonetheless kind of related. Like all games should have all the same story setting or options. It's like, well, maybe they want to tell a particular story about a man or a woman or a minority or this or that or whatever it is. Pick your range, and they do, and people are making more and more games of different kinds of stories and different kinds of identities and different kinds of settings.
And the best part about that is that if that identity doesn't speak to you, you can just not play the game.
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, and that's and people are like, it's like, you really want to complain this hard about this game when there's like 1,000 other games you could play that you wouldn't complain about? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's just people being ridiculous and dramatic and
dramatic. Yes, dramatic.
It is what it is.
Drama llamas, as my niece likes to say.
Drama llamas.
She's 10 and she has a llama, and the name is the No Drama Llama. She has a little like stuffed llama thing. It's the No Drama Llama. Yeah, it's great. I love it. So that very interesting discussion aside, and I'd actually like to talk more about it, but this is the favorite games episode. So,
Yeah.
do you
That
have
tangent is concluded.
do you have another game you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think you mentioned Assassin's Creed. I'm not
Yes.
I'm not of the same opinion in that the first one is always my favorite. Just because I don't know. I guess I like having favorites that are more down the line, I guess.
Right.
But for me, this one might be a controversial pick. And to be fair, the new RPG style Assassin's Creeds have split the fan base.
Right.
But I really, really liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It definitely did not have the same play style as the earlier Assassin's Creeds. Like I would still say Brotherhood and 2 are I'd tie them for second, just because I loved Ezio's storyline,
Yeah.
and I loved the gameplay of that. It definitely had some of the strongest gameplay in the series, but Odyssey, I feel, just had a excellent story. It tied together myths, it tied together history, such a cool historical time period as well with the Peloponnesian War, Sparta and and their league versus the Delian League and Athens. I am a failed historian right now because I can't remember the name of the Spartan League. I think it was just the Peloponnesian League. But it is a very it's a very compelling storyline, and there's a whole lot of elements, like you have family and the war and obviously the mythology underlining everything. It is just such a cool story. The gameplay, like I said, RPG Assassin's Creed definitely has its weaknesses. There were parts of the gameplay I did not like. I really despise the leveling system. Like it doesn't make sense to me that I can one-shot an Athenian soldier with a headshot from my bow in one area, and then I go over and it's the same model, it's the same enemy type, but all of a sudden I can't headshot this Athenian soldier anymore because he is arbitrarily, level 24 and I'm still level 17 or whatever, and it's like,
Right.
that bit definitely could be improved on. But that aside, I loved a lot about Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey is really cool. I think Origins was the first one, the Egyptian one, which I didn't play, but I watched bits of. That was the first one that introduced the RPG system. Odyssey took it further, and then Valhalla really went even further. I played like 3 to 4 hours of Odyssey. Incredibly cool. I love Greek mythology. It's my favorite mythology ever, bar none. Even though Nordic mythology is really cool. Indian mythology is hella cool. That isn't used enough in games at all, honestly. Extremely rarely, which I think is a shame. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah. That's a whole layer of West versus East right there.
It is. Just a quick aside, the one that I did enjoy was in Borderlands 3. The Siren was inspired by Shiva, I think. The whole, and even the names of her skill trees and stuff. Anyway, that was cool. That was a nice reference. Yeah. And she's Indian, so that was really fun. But anyway, yeah, the RPG systems, I think there's definitely some things that are divisive. I think they're incredible games, but they're like spin-offs. They aren't Assassin's Creed. They're Assassin's Creed with heavy RPG elements. So it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want that more fixed, experience of old school? Basically, it's like old school versus new. It's the Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelation, Assassin's Creed 3, or going back to Black Flag, which is one of my favorites.
I love Black Flag, absolutely.
If I had to pick the non-RPG one, Black Flag, hands down. Just so good. I wish they would remaster it or something. For the newer ones, my pick would be Valhalla, but that's frankly it's because it's the only one I bought.
Fair.
Odyssey.
Also, you're wrong.
Yeah. But that's because I guess I was really in a Viking mood at the time. I mean, I've always liked Viking stuff for games.
Yeah. So interestingly, the main character from Odyssey makes an appearance in Valhalla.
Yes. Cassandra, I believe.
Cassandra, yeah.
Yes. As well, story spoilers, but she's like she's someone important, very important. But no, I think Odyssey is really, I think Odyssey in a way is cooler than Valhalla, just because of its historical setting and the war and everything going on and all that, like the Peloponnesian War, like what you were talking about. And, like a semi-reasonable realization of Greece life at the time. And they even have this whole like photo story mode thing you can download where there's no combat and you can just roam the world. I think it's free. It's like something from Ubisoft. So, and I think that's really cool. Like, you can have this game that is essentially very obviously combat focused, violence and everything, but then they've taken the time to make this mode where you can just wander around the world, because the world is very cool and it's vast and there's all sorts of settings and caves and oceans and towns and people, and like there's just fun. It's just kind of cool to wander around the world. And obviously the game has heavy fictional elements, but they do base it in these historical like wars and settings, and that I think is really cool. And Assassin's Creed's always done that. Assassin's Creed 1 was the Third Crusade. Ezio's was Italian Renaissance, wherever you say that. Then they went to like Civil War or American Revolution, and in AC3, Black Flag. I'm sorry, my braces still cause me to talk weird sometimes. The Golden Age piracy. Then they had like French Revolution, and then you had like Victorian England, and like I think it was Cripes. Was that World War One? Maybe, I kind of forget, in Syndicate. But yeah, they just really cool settings for Assassin's Creed. I would rate the setting of Odyssey higher than Valhalla, even though I've just played Valhalla, so I can say I prefer it. But that's more like from a gameplay point of view. From a setting point of view, I think Odyssey kills it. Like, really, really cool.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Yeah. So you said you weren't super fond of the leveling system on Odyssey or the whatever. So what did you really love about it, like specifically?
So aside, even though when the leveling system did not interfere with it, I really, really liked the combat system. The way you could kind of build your character and choose a focus of you're being more bow focused or assassin focused or melee focused, and then you have all these different abilities that are really cool. Like one of the best feelings is when you Sparta kick someone off a high point in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and just insta kill them. It's just there's a lot of fun things about the gameplay, and when the level system isn't a detriment, it feels very, very nice. I only wish that there was a little bit more emphasis on the assassin part of Assassin's Creed. Maybe not having that be its own tree and change that with more like, split the melee tree and have it be like heavy melee versus light melee of like, the spears and the pole arms and stuff versus, swords and daggers, and then just having the assassin part of it be its own thing of, hey, you snuck up behind someone and congratulations, you assassinated them because that's what the game's about. This is Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, quick aside, I remember from when I was playing, like what you're talking about, the level system interfering. You sneak up on someone, you jump on them over the rock or the wall or whatever it is, and you stab them like in the head or neck, and then you get off them and then they stand up. It's like, what the shit?
Yeah.
I just ran the knife through this guy's face and he's fine. He's at like half health. Like, it's like the dissonance is so weird.
Yeah.
And that's okay for like a regular combat, like the sword or the bow or whatever. But I do agree, like, I wished basically like stealth kills regardless. But I guess that's the problem, because then you could go to areas with high level enemies, stealth kill them, and like get super leveled because you get like a bazillion XP for killing them. So it's like there's these dumb game reasons, mechanical reasons that you can't like do the thing you should be able to do. It's just it's unfortunate, but when it works, it really works, and it's incredible. But the stealth stuff, but that's the thing. The stealth stuff is the most lost in the newer RPG game systems. I think they improved that in Valhalla, but it's still the least effective way to play the game. Especially in Valhalla, because they expanded the combat system and the weapons and all this stuff compared to even Odyssey. But and plus, you're a Viking. Are you really supposed to be sneaking around like on some roof trying to stab a guy? Like run in there with an axe and hit him in the face? Like
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
like thematically, it's also like So a few issues. But yeah, incredible. I would pick again. I was only picking one just because it got started. I would never replay it today. I would never even recommend it to anyone. But I also, part of it, why I liked it is because of its setting, and they never revisited that. And you played as a Muslim, Altair, if that's how you say his name. It was in the Third Crusade, and you weren't just like the Christian knight hero guy. It was more interesting than that. So I really appreciate the game for that. And you can explore Jerusalem, and I forget what other cities, and it's like, oh, this is really cool. Like this is an unusual main character in an unusual setting. Yeah. Or from the perspective of that character. When most of the media around it's always from the other side, like I don't know, even the movie Kingdom of Heaven or whatever.
I think
so that's why I liked it mostly.
If Assassin's Creed 1 came out today, I think it would have very mixed reactions. I think a lot of people would say like, oh, they're pandering and it's all that because they're making the Christians the bad people and all that. It's like, right. But it was very, I'd say it was a bold move actually to have the Templars, who historically they were not good people, right? Like historically they committed some atrocities. But having them be the bad guys when in the modern common person's understanding of the Templars and the Crusades is that it was this crusade against evil, like that sort of thing It was a bold move, definitely, even for that bold time.
Yeah. But yeah, like the environments are really sparse, the combat's super minimal, but it really was all about the stealth, and that's what got it fun. And of course, the later games really refined that, especially AC2 suddenly had whole like cities of people, and it was like, whoa, you could really blend in the crowds, and it was incredibly cool. So what's the next game? Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is featuring the guy from Valhalla. So once again, you're playing like a Middle Eastern guy. I forget his name, some name I probably can't pronounce, but apparently I don't think it has any RPG systems. It's like a throwback game.
It's going back to the original, and then they said there's only one more. Ubisoft said there's only one RPG style game planned, and that's the Japan one. And then they're done with the RPG style. That's reportedly that's what I heard.
To be fair, that's probably my most like hyped AC game is the Japan one. I'm like, oh my god, give it to me now. Just because I love the whole like Japanese historical whatever combat period stuff is really fun setting. And I think
I'm sure.
Would be good. No, I'm saying I think it's. I mean, it's been rumored, I think, for like 10 years or something. Like, I think in the Japan one, like, it's been around forever. But I think it'll make a very good set. I'm sure it's going to
be a Ghost of Tsushima type deal where you have the whole, like, samurai versus, like, the samurai path versus the sneaky
ninja or whatever type
ninja style path. At least that's what my gut tells me. I'm not sure how that'll actually play out, but...
Right.
We shall see.
Yeah. No, Assassin's Creed is just fun. I mean, my buddy always just called it Ass Creed, which I was kind of kick out.
It's the most common video game joke. You just throw in a curse word in there, like Ass Effect.
Yeah. Well, Miranda. I mean, come on.
I mean, yeah. Well.
Oh, I can't believe somebody made a mod for the Legendary Edition that restored like the butt shots.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
You gotta have it, you know.
I'm not like necessarily against it. I just think it's a riot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Assassin's Creed, really cool. I haven't played every game in this series. I own a few I haven't played because I got them for free on Epic, like Syndicate. Which is funny. I always, I kind of almost want to go back and play it. I say go back because I got it like years ago. Mostly because you play as twins, and I am a twin. So, and of course, you have siblings who are twins.
Yeah.
So I just love this idea, and especially the twins are one's a male and one's a female, and that I relate to very much because of my twin sister.
Fraternal
yeah.
twins.
And the London setting, I've always enjoyed like that setting for games, movies, books, whatever. It's a fun sort of period. So it's mostly just because of like a backlog thing. I always have something else to play, but now that we're talking about it, I almost want to like go back and play Syndicate. So we'll see. But yeah, Assassin's Creed is, I think, pretty much always a good time. I mean, my issue with the newer RPG games like Valhalla, I gotta be honest, I didn't finish Valhalla. Not because it wasn't interesting, because there's so much game there. They've crammed like, I feel it's like 5 games in one. I don't mean separate games. I mean, the game is so freaking big. Like, I'd already played like 40 hours, which is quite a lot of time. And I was like 40% the way through the story. And I mostly was doing the main story. I was like, oh my God, I can't play this game like another 100 hours. Not because it wasn't interesting, but my gaming preferences have changed. Like, I only want to play a certain game so much, no matter how much I love it. And then they almost have this whole other game within a game. You can go into the dream world, and you're playing as like Odin and oh my God, whatever the name of the god's realm is. And that's like a whole like 20-30 hour thing in there. It's literally like an entire game within the game, and it's all optional. It's just like, it's insane how much content there is stuffed into Valhalla. And the amount of things you can do, and it's really cool. It's fun to build up your town and recruit people, and you can go on raids and obviously do the main story, and there's tons of thrilling stuff, and the skill tree's fun. It's a lot more broader than Odyssey's was, and the combat's just bonkers fun, honestly, because it's so variable, especially once you get some levels. I remember, speaking of the level thing, it definitely rears its head less. It does here and there, because Odyssey had the I think mercenary system who like hunted you down. Was it the mercenary system?
Yeah, and if you like did overt things, they would assign more and more mercenaries to hunt you down, and it was like so a sliding scale.
Has the like elite Templar system, same idea. So some of them were, you stumble onto them and they're high level, and you sit there shooting them with like 10,000 arrows, because they're way higher level than you. And so I'd want to encounter like that.
All of a sudden, your swords are just completely dull, and you got too drunk, and now you can't swing because you're just sitting there hitting the same guy over and over and over and over, and it's just like, oh my God!
Yeah, I think I caught
Come on,
one.
There's
like,
a limit here.
I just they were like a spear shield wielder, and so I picked off the like weaker cronies with the main guy. I probably fought him for like 10 minutes. I think I was shooting him with poison or something, and that eventually killed him. But for the most part, I think Valhalla is better on that leveling regard. And I'm fairly sure you can stealth kill just about everyone. I don't think it has that Odyssey issue, from what I recall. But some enemies can't be stealth. Like, you jump them and they like shrug you off. And I think that's how they get around that.
Yeah. I mean, and it was the same way in Odyssey. Like, you could try to assassinate, quote unquote, some of the bosses, and then, your character would jump up there and stab them, but then they'd shrug you off, and it's like, oh, you did like a quarter or half their health in damage because you got that assassination move off, but now they're alert and fighting you and all that, and it's like, okay, well, at least there is an in-game animation type deal that reflects that. Right.
Yeah, I didn't play enough of Odyssey to know like how epic it gets. I know you can participate in some bigger war scenes, if I'm not mistaken. But I gotta shout out to Valhalla. Just has some incredibly epic like castle siege set pieces. like you're going in at night with this whole fleet of ships, and the music's all the Viking like chanting and drums, and there's fire arrows and ballistas flying at you, and ships are sinking, and you're storming the castle and fighting all over the walls and the gates, and it's like cool as hell. Honestly, it's just really darn good, especially with the upgraded combat mechanics. It's just a blast because you can play kind of whoever you want. Even barehanded, or run around with 2 shields, or wield a sword or an axe or a dagger or a spear, or heavier weapons, and you have like special abilities. I don't remember, you had abilities in Odyssey as well. But you can do some really, I don't think the kick is in this one, but you have like a charge. You can charge people and like grapple them kind of, but you keep running with them, so you can like run them off cliffs or into walls and stuff. Or you can jump on someone and just start like pounding their face in and headbutt them. Yeah. You did get like a grappling hook thing. You can whip people around. So I remember I went to find some like Draugr guy in Valhalla, and he was up in like some snowy mountaintop. He was really hard to find. But I got the game's also split into regions. We have the like Norse region, and then you have the England region in Valhalla, and you can later travel around between them. Anyway, this guy was like, I don't know, level 200 or something insane, and he was left over. So this is like if you watch the show Vikings or whatever, or just know your history, like Ragnar Lothbrok. So in the game Valhalla, he's referenced, but he's already like passed away. He's come and gone, but he's left his legend. And he has these like legendary followers who for some reason are like these hermit guys hiding around like remote parts of the map. So you can go and find them. Anyway, I found this guy just for the heck of it. I'm like, there's no way I can beat him because he's way too high level. And he was also defensive. He had like a giant ass shield and armor. So he would be hard anyway. So we were squaring, you have this whole conversation with him. You don't just show up and fight him. You talk to him for a while and this and that. And, they're just looking for somebody to beat them. They're like these warriors who are so good nobody could beat them, so their wish is for someone to defeat them, kind of a thing, which isn't unbelievable. But the hilarious part is, so I get up there, I'm like, all right, this guy's gonna kick my ass, and I threw my grappling hook at him, and you can choose the direction. So I'm like, well, we're right next to a cliff, so I just yeeted him off the cliff, and he fell like 1,000 feet and died. Yeah, and I was like,
I love it when that happens.
I did not expect that to work at all. I assumed he would just like block the grappling hook or something. Anyway, it was like this hilarious like anticlimactic moment for me. And then I had to go find his body to recover his stuff. But anyway, I don't want to ramble on about Valhalla. But yeah, Assassin's Creed, it's really split between the old and the new, and there's a bunch of great games in the old. If you like the new style, I think any of them are good. It's more like pick your setting. Well, do you want to be in the time of the pharaohs of Egypt, or do you want to be in like the Spartan War stuff, or do you want to be like Viking invasion of England? Like, take your pick. They're all great games. They're well regarded by the fans. It's more like means the fans who enjoy the new systems. It's like, so pick your setting basically.
Yeah, and it's definitely, it's got its ups and downs. I think overall, for consistency, the older Assassin's Creeds, you can't go wrong with them.
Right.
And I always have a blast anytime I play Brotherhood or 2 or 4. Those would be up there for me.
Agreed.
But the only reason I put Odyssey as number 1, really, it really is just the story and the setting. Like, just as a historian, I love studying the classics. Greece, ancient Rome, those 2 regions are just like really fascinating to me. So getting to see that, and obviously it's not a 1-to-1. The combat is very, it's very arcadey compared to what an actual hoplite army would do, right? Even in those open battles, or like when you're playing in those historical battles, even like the Battle of Pylos, for example, it's like you got guys with swords and spears like running around fighting single combat like duels and stuff, and it's like, this isn't, that isn't how that worked. Like, but realistically, right, you're not going to have a fun gaming experience. Like, it works for some strategy games, right? Like, you have Total War Rome and stuff like that, where you're in these nice and neat formations that you can command. But if you're just playing as a single person running around on the field out there, and everyone's in these nice stacked hoplite shield walls and everything, it's probably not going to be the best gaming experience. So I can forgive them for that. But getting to see like the modeling of Athens, which Ubisoft did such a good job with recreating. Obviously, it's a scaled down version, but just recreating how it would have looked and how it would have appeared. That some historians actually reference Assassin's Creed Odyssey in their works.
Oh wow!
And the whole reason they made that photo mode you talked about was at the request of more than a few historians who were like, yeah, we want to use this to show off because it is such a good model of how it would have looked. Probably one of the best models that exist. So it is just, for the time period, I cannot compare it to 2 and Brotherhood just because of that alone. But that is a personal.
No, I agree. Brotherhood was one of my all-time favorites too. For the older, if the older ones, I know I talked about number 1, but actual gameplay and the enjoying the game side of it, Brotherhood is for me the peak of the old school ones.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I played so much Brotherhood. I went out of my way. I got that armor, the super rare armor that you have to do a bunch of challenges to unlock. I went out of my way.
Yeah,
I loved that game.
Some wolf armors or something. I kind of forget.
Yeah, it's a Roman themed wolf style armor.
Right. Some Children of Romulus or something. I kind of forget.
Yeah. That sounds right.
Just talking a little bit about Black Flag. I mean, Black Flag is almost not an Assassin's Creed game. It is an Assassin's Creed game, but it's so different than every other one. It's almost a complete standalone spin-off entry with really no relation to the other ones, other than the fact that they stuck Assassin's Creed in the name and it has a couple Templar versus Assassin thing. But it's in terms of the story, that is the it's most in the background compared to any of the other games I've played. It's 90% pirate, 10% whatever other stuff, and the other games are not in that same ratio. It's really interesting. It's more of a pirate simulator almost.
Yeah.
It's a really unique Assassin's Creed game, but I almost hesitate to call it an Assassin's Creed game because that carries a certain amount of setting, expectation, gameplay even, and it shares some similarities, but it's very, very unique as a game, and I wish they would remaster it or make a new one because I think it's incredible. So if I was forced to say, well, what's your favorite Assassin's Creed game, it'd probably be Black Flag, but to me it's not in the same line as the other games, so I would just separate it and be I really enjoy Black Flag. It's a really cool pirate game, You can be sneaky, stabby, but you're really meant to be just this seafaring, sailing, swashbuckling pirate person. That's the game, not assassins and shadows and Templar versus blah, blah. That's all so in the background in Black Flag, so I don't really consider it a Assassin's Creed game, quote unquote. It just happens to be called one and shares a couple similarities.
I think Assassin's Creed 4 is in a similar boat to me as Assassin's Creed Odyssey for that reason, because it's not really about the assassins, but it also kind of is tangentially, and it's in the same series, but it occupies this strange middle area between the storylines, and I enjoy it, and I definitely love it. But it won't ever really be on the same scale as the way I consider 2 and Brotherhood and what was it, Revelations to be because that, I think the titular Assassin's Creed experience is that, right? You got 2, you got Brotherhood, you got Revelations, you got 3.
Yeah.
And then 1 is there, but it's kind of on the more archaic side. Like they hadn't really figured out all the systems, and there's not as much world building. And then 4 is where you start going into like, okay, it is Assassin's Creed, but it's different.
Right.
And it kind of goes back and forth over the next few games. Obviously, the RPG Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla are just the most egregious departure from that original formula. But I think 4 is definitely where you start to see it.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I was looking at Metacritic ratings, not that they're the all-in-all or anything, but so Odyssey scored higher with critics than Valhalla, but the user's score is way higher for Valhalla than for Odyssey, which I find odd, like way higher, which I found was odd. Because I know Odyssey, well, this is, again, Metacritic isn't like the main hub of all user reviews. In fact, I think it's mostly meant to aggregate critic reviews, so in that sense, user score I think is faulty. If you were to go to like Steam or something, that's probably better. But I just found it odd that there was this like, discrepancy.
Part of that reason is because people probably tend to just like Vikings a little more, like as
in pop culture or whatever, it's more popular.
Yeah, like Vikings are like the more standard, not standard, but like more common cultural sort of genre, I guess. Like there's more popularity around Vikings versus the ancient Greeks.
You're not wrong.
So I think maybe it was more popular for that reason. Because realistically, like having played, I have not played all of Valhalla. I just never had the time to finish it. But like gameplay wise, they're very, very similar. So I don't know. I guess Valhalla did have some better RPG elements compared to Odyssey. Like you were talking about the battles. The battles are definitely better in terms of how they're displayed and the cinematics of it. The combat system I think was a little better. So yeah, maybe there's more to it than just that. But to me personally, I think
no, I still have a special place in my heart for any like Greek Odyssey or that related stuff. Like one of the main board games I'm playing right now is called Aeon Trespass Odyssey, and it's all this like you're the Argonauts, but it's like with a sci-fi twist, and it's almost like Greek punk board game world, but you're still running around fighting with like spears and swords, but it's all this like Greek mythology stuff with a little like slight sci-fi twist to it. So it's I really do love the setting. And I enjoy mucking around with it. But yeah, Assassin's Creed's a good time, and we'll see what we already know the next 2 games, Mirage, and we don't know the name of the Japan one, we just know what's happening. But yeah, Assassin's Creed is a good time. Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood were on Mac way back in the day, and that was the only ones officially ported, but it's really easy these days to play them on Mac, whether it's crossover, parallels. I think they're all available on GeForce Now for streaming, like every single one of them, because all of Ubisoft's catalog is, as far as I know. Like it's not hard these days to play the Assassin's Creed games on Mac. You just wouldn't play them, quote unquote natively. That's all, but pretty easy to play them these days, and a good time.
Yeah.
So that's Assassin's Creed. Let's see. I don't actually know how long we've been recording.
I think it's been a little bit.
It's been a while, because I'm not using our usual recording room, which has a timer. I'm pretty sure it's been well over an hour. We could wrap it up here unless you have another game you really want to, like, we're inspired to talk about right now. Otherwise, we can do that next time. It's up to you.
I think it is better to save the rest for another day.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, no, this has been a lengthy show, but I had a great time. Loved hearing about some of your favorite games, which coincidentally were some of my favorite games. They weren't always necessarily on my list, but they're like really strong, high up there, great memories, great experiences. So love to hear about it. So, all right, everyone, thanks for listening. Lily, thanks for coming on and regaling us with your awesome gaming memories and experiences.
Of course.
And we'll be back another time to continue. So thanks for listening, and see you next time.